Yeah. Let's see. Hello. Give me a second. I'm kind of getting some stuff sorted out here real quick.
Can I take you home to meet my family?
Hey, anyone who's there? Hey, Chuck. Give me a second. Got to do something real quick.
If you want to marry me, if my mama don't meet you before, she'll never let me be. Now will you
Give me just a second here. I got some of my own album playing today, so
to meet my family?
I had to. It's the only drag with this. I could use like an assistant on this stuff.
You make a good wife for me. Like if my mama don't meet you before, she'll make our lives a little misery.
Let's see if I remember the solo. Oh, I don't remember. It's a while ago. Can you hear me okay? Tim Lurch. Hi, Tim. How is it going? Oh, and on YouTube, we've got David Hogan with Bourbon in Hand. All right. In a little bit, once we get a few more people, tomorrow's blog is actually going to be on how I cram songs for pop gigs. So I figured maybe we talk a little bit about that today. I want to give it a few minutes to start, though. Thanks. Actually, all the sound is good. So on YouTube, I'm just using my phone, or on what do you call it? On Facebook. I'm actually using my laptop for YouTube today, so we'll kind of see how it works. Maybe let's kind of jam with something. I actually have versions of the album without vocals, I think. Give me a second here. No vocals. Play over this. All these years I did not know, but my black market heart could never show. Yeah, I don't remember the words. It's been a while since I've heard this album, which explains any of this stuff. So I don't remember any of this stuff. So does anybody have any questions? I've got like here on the Facebook, I've got, it's just weird. It just says a couple people are on here. So, hi, Heidi. Okay. Gotcha dead. Okay, on you. Hey, man. It's like the weirdest thing doing this because, like, it's very rarely when people actually ask questions. But people will say hi and all kinds of stuff. I did a lesson this past week, and I used a bunch of examples out of this album that we did like almost 2 decades ago, which is just frightening to know that I've got. That's not the oldest music I have out there at this point. But it was kind of fun listening to some of that old stuff. I'd love to be playing in that band again. But that, or even like the blues album that I was just playing. Maybe after I get out of school, I'll be able to start kind of playing with those projects again, which would be really fun. For the time being, though, I'm playing classic rock. Chris Slattery, are you still there? Say hi if you are. I got something kind of funny to tell you. It'd be fun to have a Felt reunion. I would dig it. I think the other guys would dig it too. The hardest part is that we all have such busy lives. Everyone's just got crazy stuff going on. And then the other problem is that there's really no place to play adult rock music in Southern California. You know, it's just kind of a dead scene. As far as I can tell, unless you're playing like tribute bands and blues and stuff like that. But for original rock music, it's not like it was in the 80s, 90s. Unless you want to go up to Hollywood and like sell tickets or some junk like that, which I'm not going to do. I was working on a Simon & Garfunkel song with a student, just a millions to you. Oops, wrong key. You, Mrs. Robinson, Jesus loves you more than you will know. Whoa, God bless you, please. And it was weird because I had learned the song like really long time ago. And then as I'm brushing up for these gigs coming up, I went back and listened to it and realized that like we had learned it from the Lemonheads version, which is kind of punk rocky and is all power chords. the problem with that is they're all power chords. I was missing all the chord quality, so I was playing minor chords or major chords. And they all made sense because I was playing stuff that fit if you looked at it diatonically, but it didn't make sense if you really listened to the original recording. So it was kind of a shocker. David, we could probably do a recording. I mean, the nice thing is that one of us owns a really nice studio, and the rest of us have recording rooms. We could do it pretty easily. But that band was really fun to play live with. I would really just love to play a bunch of gigs with those guys again. So. One of the songs I've been brushing up on is Cars tune. In our favorite Psychotronic from the forum has a video on it. So I looked at his and stole stuff from it, and then I went back to the Cars version and I stole, you know, it's just we play it so quickly that a lot of like the Elliot East and stuff. Actually, all that stuff is like kind of hard to play like in at the tempo that we play a lot of this stuff at. So yeah, Elliot, I love the Cars stuff. We do a bunch of their tunes, and because it's a trio, I end up having to play a lot of the synth parts on guitar. I should actually do this with my live rig setup, so I can maybe I'll do that next week, because I'll set everything up and kind of play along with it. The guitar's a McFeely. It's a Mark McFeely. It's a custom build, a friend of ours from Pennsylvania. I've got two of them. This one actually I really love. It's all Carina. It's got Sir pickups and then Goto hardware. It's pretty basic. It doesn't have any finish on it, which is why it's all beat to death. But I like it a lot. Yeah, the Elliot, it's fun because with the car stuff, going back to Elliot Easton, you know, the rhythm guitar stuff. I don't mind you coming here. I don't sing any of these songs, so it's read the lyrics. They'll develop like the verse of a tune. Yeah, and then the next. Not the ribbons in your hair. You know, so even like over the course of the verse, it actually like every 4-bar phrase kind of gets something else going on, which is nice. Even though there's keyboards and there's all kinds of other elements, all the subtle things that he does really kind of move the tune along. And then let me do this for the synth lines. And I have to, a lot of times like there, I'm combining the synth line along with his guitar part. But together with all the distortion, they kind of work real nice. In the solo, you know, the solos on those tunes, if you can play them, like Just What I Needed. There's like so much there. I love teaching that stuff because for my students, like that song's all in the key of E major, but then it's got the one chord that is not in the key, which is the G sharp major. Normally it's a G sharp minor in the key. So what happens is you get these like, the interesting notes, the outside notes. He outlines them really nicely. So that's a great part of it to learn. He'll mix like these, a lot of these bends where you're playing in a major key and everything just has to be really in tune. And then he'll mix in things like the sixth, all that stuff, and it's always really melodic. It's really cool. We'll do that one. We'll do Let's Go. That's another crunchy one. I can only imagine what this sounds like through the computer with this amp, but all these things, it's nice because this stuff really really lays nicely on the guitar, even though all that stuff, it's like, it's just cool stuff to play on guitar, even if it's not the guitar part. So yeah, Mike, all that stuff, all that stuff is cool. I love that Elliot Easton stuff. I was saying earlier, there's that it's like the metal version of this song. Here she comes again. All this stuff is really, it's fun to play. And you get that. She's my best friend's girl. She's my best friend's girlfriend. But she used to be mine. It sounds terrible with distortion on that part. Almost out of tune, but all that stuff, it's really neat. The solo on that tune. Gotta think about it. But the solo on that one, you know, if you pull it apart bit by bit, because it's the chords, it's like B flat to C. And it's like when you play over that, you think B flat to C is going to be, you know, F major. But because they never get to the F major until the end of it, you end up kind of having to play B flat and C. So what he does, it's complete like B flat lick, and then he plays this, which is like out of the C, the shape here. All right, this lick here, it's like you're playing a D shape, but you've moved it up here. All right, and the he'll bend it like a pedal steel, and then he does the same pedal. So that's all in C, and he goes, all right. So right there, basically that's a B flat lick, and then he does, all right. That's all C, kind of C. That right there is all C, and it kind of ends on the B flat. And then these, right, that right there, he's just taking the triad, sliding it down, and then that's just in the F right there. And then finally, you return to the key. All right, and then he's back in the, you know, the little rockabilly lick that he plays. Yeah, I love that stuff where it's like it's pop music. It functions as a pop song because it's just, you know, the average, you know, 13-year-old in 1980 or whenever that song came out, they could care less about that. It was a fun song, and you could sing along with it. And usually when we play it, we even turn it into a ska song at the end. It turns into a almost like Total Orange County ska kind of. Oops. You know what's going to be awesome is if this amp finally croaked. I've had this one little practice amp for, I've spent more repairing the amp over the last like 3 years than I've actually spent on the amp originally, but I love it, even though it's like a little front amp. The total, you know, total ska. Best friends girlfriend, my best friends girl used to be mine. That kind of deal. It's the stuff like it lends itself to almost any style, which is a sign of a good song, I think. Nemtali, I'm actually playing through a just a Fender Frontman. I'll take YouTube here on a quick tour of what the not very exciting amplifier I'm playing through. Right there. I've had it forever. I used to own like 3 of them when we had our studio, and I had like a 15R and a bunch of other stuff. And they don't make them anymore, I don't think. But I really, they're cool. A lot of my early lesson videos on YouTube from like 2007, 2008 are all that amp. It's just a good clean sound. You know, it's just solid. The amp that a lot of people like that is pretty similar in terms of just being a cheap but good sounding amp is that Vox Pathfinder amp, which is another $99 amp. That's just a good basic clean sound. The distortion on this is just the channel switching. That's right. I went from all blues last week to playing Journey this week. Hey, Todd. I don't have enough frets to make that work. Screen went black. You guys seeing me on Facebook? So anyway, but that's the cars, the pop stuff. It's funny because I've been doing a lot of review. You know, I get known online as being kind of a blues guy, or whatever you guys know me as. I don't know. But the reality is that almost all of my gigs these days are me playing a cover band, mostly classic rock and 80s stuff. And I'm playing this stuff forever, but you kind of just fall into ways of playing it. I play in a band, it's a trio. So what happens is because the bass player gets to play bass parts and the drummer gets to play drum parts, everything that's not bass and drums becomes like my territory. So just playing like stock guitar parts doesn't always work, and so it always makes for strange guitar things going on sometimes. And sometimes I get away with just playing what I'm supposed to. A lot of times we do Jackson 5, Want You Back. But because we're not like, you know, 14-year-old or 13 or however old Michael Jackson was when they did that. The bass player sings and he sings in the key of C. So for me, you know, you've got a recording that has 3 guitar players on it. You know, and in the original recording, one guy's doing that. Yeah, the other guy's doing that. I forgot what the other guy does. But I have to kind of make something fit in all of that space, because there's you think about that song, and if you listen to the original recording, there's those guitar players, there's bass, there's drums, there's piano in there. I think there's even strings. There's a lot of stuff going on. And when you're in a trio and you're doing it, you just can't just go, you know, for the whole song. As much as fun as that would be, actually, 'cause that's actually, I don't mind grooving like that for 3.5 minutes. But in the case of this tune, you know, so we're playing it C. So I'll be playing the C up there. So, tied you to my soul, didn't want you around. Pretty faces always make you stand out. I combine the parts. I don't sing this song either. It's too high for me. And then the next part, I have to give me one more chance. Show you that I love you, won't you? Please let me back to your heart. Oh, darling, I was blind to let you go, baby. It's back part. Yeah, you know, so it's this weird like conglomeration of me filling space, but also trying to like infer the parts that are familiar to you on the recording. So a lot of it, like on the chorus, you know, I'm copying the bass line, but because we're in C, I'm able to use a lot of open strings. All right, so there's a lot of like droney stuff. And then back to the octave stuff. So it's a fun gig in some regards. Sometimes it's really hard because, you know, I feel like I have to cover a lot of ground and I get myself in trouble. And then I'll listen to like other local bands play, and they play the stuff really simple. And I think maybe I'm working too hard. Maybe I should play more like some of these other guys. I saw a friend's band at a video of them. I think they were doing Rebel Yell, and the original, like on the original recording, Steve Stevens does this. Right. But this part here, where he's playing this, and then he's got that. I don't know if there's also a keyboard going on, or maybe the original recording is just the keyboard. But when you see him play live, he's combining the two parts. And let me turn this down just a little bit. Turn the treble down. But I've always felt like I needed to make it sound right. So I got pretty good at that. But that's an example of something that like I screwed up on a lot of gigs, trying to get it put together when I was younger, and then I finally did. And then I see these other bands are like, they don't even have the keyboard part. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. I like trying to get the stuff to sound as close as I can. Sometimes on that gig, there's a lot of great alternative versions of songs. You know, there's a band called Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, and they'll do a lot of like John Denver songs and stuff like that, all punk rocked out. So we'll do stuff like that, or we make everything heavier, like Summer of '69. I got my first ring of 6 string. Yeah, I can't sing this song on the too high. Yeah, but everything's like way bigger and crunchier sounding. Yeah, totally out of tune. So yeah, I try and make accommodations that way too. I mean, it's a rock band. No one's giving me style points for actually playing stuff, you know, 100% accurately. But I try and make sure that it still sounds like the tune, and then you still try and kind of keep the energy up. We do The Joker by Steve Miller. You know, I'm combining the guitar parts and yeah, and playing everything really heavy and crunchy. You know, and it works. You know, we also play everything a bit quicker too. That's kind of another part of the aesthetic of the band, which usually works out. You know, makes everything more danceable. Some tunes maybe we could probably stand to slow them down a little bit, but anyway, I am yammering on. Anyone got anything they want to ask? Oh, I got a guy on YouTube here. Saw one at a pawn store. Most songs have many parts on the recording, layers on layers. Yeah, I mean, I would think that if you had a chance, if you've never really done any recording before in a studio, and you had the opportunity to listen to an album, especially a rock album, where you were able to isolate parts, you discover that most of your favorite heavy guitar parts aren't as distorted and crunched out as you think they are. Because the more crunchy they get, the more they just turn to mush and they just disappear. And sometimes the thickest sounds are usually two kind of medium gain sounds that are doubled. I've got, I don't think I have a, actually, hang on a second. I'm going to post this on the YouTube stream. from our SoundCloud. One of these songs here is, believe it or not, it's a Les Paul, but it's just an old Bassman and like a DS1 pedal or something like that. And it's not, you know, SoundCloud drives me nuts sometimes. Like I have no idea how to find my stuff on here. Albums, Travis Middleton, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to put the link for this guy in. Where's the link for this guy? It's funky. But you can even hear it probably through here. It's a pretty thick guitar sound, and it's because it's two really tightly doubled guitars, and they're split kind of nicely in stereo. So what happens is the overall texture, they kind of like the crunchiness kind of builds in, but it's not ratty or mushy sounding. You know what? I'm just going to put the link for the SoundCloud in this for you guys. This is the whole album. It's the. Then we'll put this on for the Facebook folks as well. Hang on a second. I'm coming. Almost there. Second. I'm coming. Yeah. There's the audio here. Where can I put comments? Can I not comment on my own video? There we go. Okay, so that's the rock album. That's actually the album that last week's video was all about too, lesson with all the static repeating licks and all that stuff. So, but that's the thing about crunchy sounds on gigs. It's funny because I've got a couple distortion pedals in my rig, and the pedal I end up using most of the night is not a distortion pedal, but it's a Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive mod, which is kind of just a tube screamer. And the mod, it gives you the option of like getting rid of the mid-range pump that, you know, everybody complains about with the tube screamers. But I kind of crank that up a bit, and it sounds kind of like a Marshall. And I'll use that most of the night. And then I've got one fuzz pedal that I use for some lead stuff. The Wampler Velvet Fuzz, which is kind of like super saturated, and it's really, I just use it for single note stuff when it needs to be over the top. But then I've also got the Keeley D&M drive, and that's got a super heavy side to it. And every time I get something with a super heavy side on stage, it's hard for me to hear myself with all that distortion, you know. And the amp, like if I've got the Sparkle drive kind of wound up, and then I've got the amp where, you know, I've got the master volume kind of cranked up a little bit, I actually get it. It's a great big sound. You know, it works really good on stage, especially this guitar is really harmonically rich. So I get a lot of oomph out of it just pushing the amp. So I think that's the mistake we all kind of make, is that we hear these pedals where they're super crunchy, or like this. This is fun to play through right now, you know. Although some of the crunch I think is from the speaker being torn, but but it never really works out for me, especially when someone starts hitting cymbals, you know, and everything gets loud and crazy. It's almost like my guitar just kind of disappears. That might also be a bit of me, you know, being, you know, having my hearing pummeled by too much, you know, too many live rock shows. But I like that. I like the lighter drive sounds on stage. And then I'll play, like, if I set up my rig next week in here, and you'll hear my regular crunch sound at a lower volume, you'll be like, well, that isn't very special. That isn't so great. But then you hear it in the room when everything's wound up, and it's like, wow, that's actually perfect. The pedal and the amp and the guitar all work really good together to give us a pretty good sound that isn't so crunchy that it disappears, but it still has some oomph to it. You know, I can get away with playing a lot of rock music with it and not sounding too silly. Whereas the distortion side, or the, I don't know what they call it on the DMM drive, the Dan side, I guess. Sometimes I'll use it, not as much. I usually end up using the cleaner boost side of it as a combination for other stuff. So anyway, hey Travis, I've got your tone. So what is weird is I'm not seeing any of the Facebook comments here. Oh, there you go, Travis. Actually, that's actually the very first riff I ever heard Travis play. Which is pretty funny if you guys knew who Travis was, because he's definitely not Mick Mars by any stretch of the imagination. More Mick Taylor. So. I don't know that Flash of the Blade by Iron Maiden, Travis. As much garbage music as I know, and cool music, but that one's not on my list of stuff I know. I do know everything's getting new strings tonight because nothing's new too. So, is any of you guys playing cover bands? This is a question I would love. You know, this is you guys come and ask me questions and stuff, but the reality is that I'd love for you guys to kind of tell us about some of the stuff that you do. I never get out to see other people play, so sometimes I wonder, like, if there's better ways of doing stuff than what I do. I'm trying to think what else I've been working on. A lot of one-hit wonder stuff. I'm supposed to be working on stuff for my jazz lessons, and I've been totally dropping the ball because I've been trying to get this other stuff together. So, wouldn't be good for me to. Hey, Pat Leon. It's Pat Gash. All right, guys. I'm probably gonna need to get rolling unless anybody has any actual questions. Although I should ask Pat, where are you playing? Because Pat plays in this pretty awesome Zeppelin tribute band that seems to be touring a bit. You guys got have any shows coming up? Yes, no? And Haru's watching. Everybody from the early 90s incarnation of my life is on right now. Chris Slattery was on from another band I was in. right, guys. I'm probably gonna get rolling here. I got a student coming in a little bit, and I want to get something to eat, so I'm not grouchy because everybody knows I'm a notoriously grouchy person. So okay, have a good night, folks. How do I turn you off here? I'll finish. Oops. Oh. Oh, hi, YouTube folks. I didn't see it before. Real quick, hang on a second. My classmate from school has been looking. It wasn't for me, so I don't know. I think he's going. He's in Montana right now, and he's heading back. So he'll go shopping. I just wanted to get some good suggestions, so we went to the forum. And hi, Terry. All right, guys.